great section in the All-Knowing Diary about profound parenting. Can we have a little bit more of a chat about kids?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So in the profound parenting section of the book, you talk about how important it is to connect with your children when they're young, when they're babies. But what if you've come to this a little bit later and your children are older? Is it too late?
No, it's never too late to reconnect kids back to their all-knowing higher self, as long, of course, that they haven't kind of overdone it with drugs and permanently disconnected themselves. So it depends what age. Ultimately, in the late teens, if a parent can steer them towards whether it's the All-Knowing Diary or something similar, or attending one of our programs, or if they're a little bit younger, we do this beautiful kids course where we get them connected to their higher self, to their all-knowing self, and they get to draw pictures of their higher self, and they get to give the adults in the room messages from their higher self, which is absolutely a profound experience to watch, to have these kids tap into pure genius, like full antenna brain. So we do have a kids program to help them. But the best thing that a parent can do for a child is to fill them with self-belief, is to always reassure them that they are perfect and whole and complete, and to never label them, and to never have them feel that they are without something, that they are missing something.
So what if one parent feels that way and acts as a loving parent and imbues that in their child, and the other parent isn't so switched on?
Yeah, that's a tricky situation, Julie, because it just depends on the extent to how stubborn that opposing parent needs to be. There are some cases where that parent can be turned around when everyone else is embracing their all-knowing self, and that parent starts going, well, hang on a second. They're having a lot more happiness and a lot more fulfillment and these amazing capabilities in their life. Maybe I'll start taking a wee look at what they're up to. But then there are others who are completely stubborn and defiant, and that's not in anyone's high school. That's not in the wife's high school or the husband's high school, and it's most certainly not in the kid's high school. And in that case, needs to be the relationship really does need to be put under the microscope and go, well, hey, if this person isn't prepared to evolve and support the evolution of the kids and the relationship, it might be time to move on.
Okay, and that's a tough one for some people, and they may choose, it's up to them, I guess, they may choose not to.
Yeah, it depends on what people's belief systems are. There are many beliefs out there that says it's better to be miserable than alone, that I'm lucky to have what I've got. Then again, if you've got your higher self working with you, your higher self will always show you what is in your highest good. If it is that relationship, how do you transform that relationship so it is in your highest good? And if that's not going to budge, and if that actually is a relationship that was founded in ego to begin with, then maybe it is time to move on, and your higher self will show you who is the ideal fit based on your soul evolution.
Okay. And talking about your soul evolution, can we talk about reincarnation and children?
Sure.
So what I want to have a look at, if we're talking about, working as a parent and in that profound parenting, and I would also say conscious parenting. I see it as conscious parenting,
Absolutely.
But it's the same principle. And if you're working with your children on clearing their beliefs, what about the stuff that they've come in with? How do you look at that, and should you?
Where a parent really needs to put their focus and attention is, what are they handing down? What are the beliefs and the perspectives and attitudes that are being handed down by them, by the grandparents, by the aunties and uncles, by their teachers? That is more of a reflection of previous experiences, and that's what's really more relevant. What is actually happening in the now? And that's where the answers are going to be found.
Okay. So what if, a child comes into the world and they have got some form of illness, or whether it's even something, at birth, conjunctivitis or some issue, is that based on their beliefs coming through from a previous life, would you say?
Look, Julie, that's a very delicate question, and it's far more powerful if the parents who have that question go directly to their own higher self and say, look, my child unfortunately has this ailment or this symptom in the body. What's the root cause and what's the solution? I have no interest in making enemies. And so I'll encourage that all parents who have that burning question to actually go directly to their own higher self and find the solution for themselves.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Dan, being a teenager is arguably one of the most difficult periods of time in somebody's evolution, I would say. How do we go about encouraging children to start looking, I guess, at their own stuff and start looking at why they're doing things a certain way or how their beliefs have created certain experiences in their life? Because they can be a bit stubborn at times.
As can we all. Look, many teenagers tend to like to arrive at decisions on their own. They don't like to be pushed into anything. They don't like to be prodded. So, the kind of more at arm's length that activity can be, the more effective often it is. So whether it's introducing something into a school, which is ideal. We'd love to put the wisdom of the all-knowing diary into school programs, or whether it's simply allowing a child to see the changes in you and to see your capabilities as you've developed, and how your life has changed and how you're relating to them differently. Look, the fastest way to create profound change in a child is to create profound change in the parents, because they are an absolute direct mirror reflection of the relationship of who we are as parents, who we are in the relationship. So if you want your child to start adopting new concepts and new philosophies, they like to see it's working on mum and dad, and they like to see that that's happening. So that's often one of the most powerful ways. But to slip them an all-knowing diary wouldn't hurt either.
Okay. And so do you think then we get hung up on wanting certain outcomes for our children and being so caught up and attached to wanting them to be happy and wanting them to be, living their life as you perhaps think that they should, that we're actually holding them back?
It's a great question. It's really our beliefs that they have to change, that they have to be different, that cause the most damage. There's so much profound ability in children that is manifesting in all kinds of symptoms, whether it's being irritable, whether it's bullying another child, whether it's taking drugs. A lot of these expressions are because who they are innately isn't being embraced or acknowledged in some way. They're not being heard or seen for who they really are. And I know growing up at my school, we were force-fed religion. I was, of course, kicked out of every one of those religious classes because I would rebel against that, because that wasn't who I was to be in that space. So we've got to be acutely sensitive to our children when there's reactions, whether it's a physical reaction such as a rash, an earache or migraines or anything like that, to outward reactions to go, hang on a second, this is a culmination of some kind of build up there, whether it's, they're unable to express themselves in the way they want to, or whether it's mum and dad refusing to be present and listen to their child. We've got to be really clued in, because all these things, as I said, whether it's alcoholism, being promiscuous, to drugs or anything, or bullying, they're symptoms. They're not that doesn't just end there. It's like there's a root cause behind that, and we need to be very tuned into that. So the best thing we can do as their parents is go, okay, I'm their environment. Who am I being or not being that is creating this? And especially once you start accessing your whole brain space, you can easily tune in to your child and find out exactly what that root cause is. And that's the profound ability. That's why we call it profound parenting, because we don't have to go without answers. We can use our brain, redirect that frequency and tune in to the thoughts and feelings and beliefs behind the child and go, okay, why are they bullying? Why are they feeling the need to yell at a teacher or be abusive? And what's going on there? This is a whole new paradigm.
So whether or not they're actually willing to look at things, if you know what's going on, then you can be connected to your higher self to best deal with what's happening in your support and love.
There is amazing connection between the parents and a child. Whether anyone will admit, whether the child's going to admit that or not is another story. But what happens, and not just parents and children, all of us, when we shift our own beliefs, that creates space for that person to be who they need to be. So when we've gotten over them needing to be different, all of a sudden there's this amazing transformation in that person because they're no longer feeling that energetically, that thought frequency bumping into them, pushing them into a particular direction. So our thoughts about that we think are stuck in our own head are actually having a huge impact on the people around us. So we've got to be the change ourselves as who we believe they need to be. It starts with us.
And then if we're shining our light and living our truth, then that's going to rub off on them. Is that
That's
what
the
you're saying?
ultimate.
Daniel, connecting to your own children may seem a little bit tricky for some, mainly because we're so sure of what we want the outcome. We're so worried about what we want the outcome to be. Have you got any tips or guidance about how we can get ourselves out of the way?
The extent to the type of information we can access through our all-knowing self is limited only by our beliefs about it, okay? And it is a widely held belief that if we're close to somebody, therefore we're attached and therefore we can't see clearly. Now, it's just not the truth. But whilst we believe it to be true, it is. So my recommendation would be is to start seeing that as a belief, learn the skills to change that belief, remove that, so then you can connect with them. My wife, when I connect in with her, I can see her more clearly than anyone else, and she is the closest person to me. So it's simply just a paradigm, it's just a belief that we can shift.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.